logs as we can in 10 seconds.
Hey everybody, I'm Lex.
I'm Jordan with PDQ.com.
You know, over the past little bit, we've been doing some monitoring of your machines so that, you know, you can keep track of services, things like that. And we kind of had a little brainstorm. It's like, if it was possible, could we collect data from different sources, put them together? Basically, we kind of came up with the idea of rolling data up from, you know, PDQ console, inventory console at a different site, putting it together in InfluxDB and using Grafana to do that. So Jordan, tell us a little bit about, you know, kind of the thought process, because, you know, I had the idea and then, you know, I was just threw it over to someone to actually make it happen.
Did you have the idea, or did you steal it from one of our customers?
I've never had my own original idea. Let's be truthful about that. But so with this, it was kind of a roll-up server is really what it is, right?
Yeah, so if you have like the client server set up, then this isn't going to really matter because it's all going to be the same information. But if you have multiple sites where each one has its own information, we came up with a way where you could roll all that up into a single Influx/Grafana and database and store it there, and you can separate based on site.
You look at your data. So to start off, obviously you got to have a site right now. Site, and we just use numbers to do our site. Site 1, Site 2, Site 3, so on and so forth. Actually, Site 1 and 2 is all we really did.
Site 1 and Site 2. We did numbers just because it makes sense for us, and it's easier since we convert it at the end into an integer.
Okay.
When we're doing the comparisons, we can say greater than, or there's just more options where if it's a string, you're a little bit more limited without using regex.
Okay.
So we just use numbers because where we don't have an actual site, there's nothing to really separate, but if you want to give it a name, you can. It's just going to work a little bit different.
So what we did is we took the monitoring PowerShell, and Jordan, looks like you added a site to it.
Yep. I just added site as a parameter there. It defaults to 1. You'd obviously want to change that if you're using a different site. And then right here, just line 15, it's just adding it to the hash table. So site is then included with the PowerShell scanner.
So basically, you're writing the same thing in, only you're marking it, you know, this machine belongs at Site 1. You'd run the PowerShell for Site 2, obviously at Site 2, and collect the data that way.
Yep. So as long as each site is running from there and you have it set to the correct site, I guess integer in our case.
Okay.
Then you should be able to use that information to separate all of your accounts.
So basically, you've already got the PowerShell to do this. The trick now is getting that into a centralized InfluxDB.
Absolutely. So yeah, the overall flow didn't change. It's still the same PowerShell scanner that we built over the last, I think, 2 or 3 monitoring. Mm-hmm. And then it's the same way that we were before, taking that information and putting it in there. So this is the monitoring script that we talked about with just added site. And then in the next part where we're actually taking the information from there, we included in the for each where we're setting specified type, we added the item.name like site, and that lets us cast it to integer, because when it goes in from the PowerShell scanner, it comes back in. Even if it says integer in our product, when you query it with SQL, it pulls it in. Everything is just a string, and this lets it convert it to an integer, so it acts that way when we put it in to Influx.
Okay. So now, did we have to do anything in Influx? I mean, let's talk data buckets and tables and those kind of things.
Yeah. So I deleted the buckets that were in there just because I'm not worried about a time series database. I'm just grabbing information. So I'll just rebuild those real quick. It doesn't matter what you name them. You just want to make sure you call it correctly in the script of when you're putting the data into. So I have one I just named monitoring and webcast, which are obviously...
So in InfluxDB, a bucket is synonymous with building a table.
Yeah, it's just...
Okay.
It's just basically throwing a name if I want this grouped together here. You could, since all the computer names are the same, put it all in one bucket and it would just add the fields in there, but...
Could get confusing.
And just for my ease on showcasing, I separated it out.
Okay. So you just built a monitoring bucket and a webcast bucket. Monitoring, we're going to write different site monitoring data into that.
Yep, so I believe, and I'll check my PowerShell quick, make sure I had that right. Yeah, so monitoring, we're doing the PowerShell one, where everything's the same, only we included the site. Nothing else has changed. And then the webcast will be, we went through and we found a way to do SQL queries.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just run this real quick.
So again, to set up InfluxDB, we've already have videos on that to get that set up for you. The only thing to think about now is if you're doing it from a different site, you've got to send it to a specific machine where InfluxDB is on. And what port do they need?
The default is 8086. It's
Okay.
easily changed, so if you have changed, it's just whatever port. But if you're going default, whatever machine is writing to it has to be able to communicate over 8086. And we did that we used a Bugs Bunny here, and if I can find my Chrome there, this is the influx on Guinness from Bugs Bunny.
Excellent. There's that 8086.
8086, yep. So it's just IP with 8086 is how you connect to that one. So this one we ran the monitoring over from this one. Now we're going to run the same thing over on Bugs Bunny.
Now, just so you guys know, Bugs Bunny, we got 2 different labs so that we can simulate the fact we have 2 different sites. One has Looney Tunes, the other is Marvel Superheroes as their machines.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the Whiskey Time domain.
The Whiskey Time domain. Sounds tasty.
I think I did the right one there. All right, so now that we imported both of those, if we go into Influx, Data Explorer, what are those? Those went into monitoring.
Yep.
You can see here we've got the Whiskey Time, which is Ant-Man, and the Auditorium, which is
Web
webcast
domain,
one.
or webcast. Okay.
So we have all that information that pulled all into there. It just by default. The hardest part, and I kind of glossed over this when we went over Influx the first time, of just creating the queries. I just kind of plug stuff in there. But by default, when you grab the information, it's not always going to be what you're hoping for. So I figure we'll probably just talk about a couple of options we have to expand that one out.
Maybe make us disappear so you can see what Jordan's doing in the
Let's see if
background
I can
there.
expand that up. So we're just going to grab C drive free and site.
Okay.
And then we can hit submit where these are strings. It defaults to mean. This is just something that I learned the hard way. You want to set that to sort instead of mean. And submit that, and then it should come back with data in the
at
table
least
there.
one custom aggregate function selected.
I tried to remove mean before I added
okay.
sort.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Yeah, and if you're looking to add that within the code itself, it's just down here, this line here, sort. That's
okay.
mean, sort, whatever you want to set it to. Just for integers, I find mean will always fail. It won't find the data, sort works. As to why, I wish I had a better answer. I just know that every time I've done an integer, I've done sort.
Hey, question for you. So if you scroll that down, like we're looking there, auditorium control.
You wanna,
Yeah, the data. So go click on Ant-Man.
Amen?
Now, I was expecting to see the site that was in. Is that because of the way we selected it?
Yeah, so there's 2 different ones. This one has just the value itself, and then the next one down has the site.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
And that's one of the filters that we're talking about. I was talking about Influx to add, and it's just the pivot.
Oh, okay. All right.
So if you come over to the functions here, you can just do the search, and it injects it for you. You just want to make sure you're in the right spot. And it puts the default in there. If it's something different you want to change, you want to. I don't think I need to on this one because we are specifying filled as the main key, and we're combining the values basically. So if we run.
So there you go. Look at that. Now it has the site on there with it. So,
Yep. Now over here on this table, there's not multiples. You just have Ant-Man, and it has site and CD drive.
Excellent.
So with this working, this is where you just want to take this over to Grafana. You could copy this over and do the data manipulation.
Copy's my friend.
Yeah. I don't want to type any of this by hand. It is not my strong suit. Let's see. So we've got this over here. It's a time series database. Instead, we're going to just do a table on this one because that tracks the data.
Okay.
And you can see here it has all these. This isn't as useful as we're hoping. It has all these servers.
Yeah.
It's just so that's where we want to come into after you have that information and do something called transforms.
Okay.
And I believe merge is going to take all those different servers and put it all into one table like we were seeing.
Okay.
I think you could do group by on Influx. It's whichever works best for you, but we're going to do a merge here, and now it puts all of it on the in one table, but you see it's missing the computer name.
Mm-hmm.
And this took me way longer than I should have to figure out. As you see here, it has the computer name on the server, but it passes that through and uses it as just kind of like the axis.
The reference point, yeah.
So you have to duplicate this one, which I thought would be way easy, and it took me a lot longer to find it than I would have hoped. We're just going to come in here, and it's just the command is called duplicate.
So basically, you're going to take server, duplicate it as server name, and then show the machine name at that point.
Yep, and we'll actually just do this one in Grafana here after pivot. So we're duplicating the server. We're adding another one called server name. Going to apply that, and then it adds the server right there.
There you go. So now we can see the machine specifically.
Yeah, and I mean this isn't super readable, so this is where you want to do just a couple more transforms. Something like, let's say we wanted to do only information from site 2.
Okay. So obviously here's where you're querying site
Filter
2
data
stuff.
by values. We want to match all. And so we're going to come in here. We're going to do site. And then is there an equals in here?
There was a greater equal.
Is
Is
equal.
equals. There you go.
To 2. And that will grab everything that's in site 2. And then you could add additional, since I did match all, where I could do, and also
Drive
the
space
CD
is-
drive space is greater than, we'll say, 65.
Okay. Oh, there.
And that limits it down a little bit further. And then the last thing is, like, we don't need the time, especially when we're not doing a time series.
Yeah.
And in Influx, it's either a drop, and you can drop the fields you don't want, or you can come into and add one more transform, which would be organize fields. Just remove time, and then drag the server name up top, just so it moves up the left
There you
column.
go. Okay.
And then this gives us a whole bunch of machines. These are the servers, how much free space they have, and the site you're looking for. You could save this, and so you could have a dashboard for site 1, dashboard for site 2. And you don't have to change the query. You just have to come and change one transform within that one, so you can copy the tables between them, and you can get just an idea per site, or you can have a global one where they're all together.
Oh, nice. Should we take a question, you think?
Absolutely.
Hey guys, how can I connect PDQ inventory database with our company's employee table to create reports? Sincerely, Rawald.
Okay, so first of all, connecting a SQLite database. A couple things you got to think about. One, where is that data located, right? What kind of database is it in? Second thing you need to know is the inventory database is based off of computer name, right? So everything's based off that, and you may have logged in user. You may, depending on your scans, could have logged in user. So you've got to build something that's going to link a computer back to your employee, whether that's login name or a custom field that way. After that, it starts getting kind of nebulous depending on what you're using and how you plan on doing it. So
If you have a custom field or adding the user, whether ID or username, something you can link together,
yeah,
I would say it's easier to query inventory with SQL or SQLite, which we're
Yeah.
going to actually show next, and then that will give you that information that you can then import in. And I'm not sure what they're using for their employee table, but if it's something that you can write to in a specific way, then you'd pull the data with SQLite and you'd write to however you need to. It just depends on
right into it. Yeah,
whatever you're
depending
using.
on, yeah. So it's possible. It's just you got to have that link, and then it's kind of nebulous at that point on how you're going to get it into.
Yeah, there's just a lot of a gray area depending on what you use for your employee information.
True.
All right. So I guess the next thing we were talking about, we wanted to do the multiple sites, but we also wanted to be able to, outside of just we built this PowerShell query. We grabbed all that information, and then we're querying that specific PowerShell scanner.
Yeah.
But we wanted to be able to just grab whatever's in our database and put that in there. And
Yeah, like collecting. Didn't we? We're collecting machines that have out-of-date software.
Yep.
That's the SQL statement I wrote.
And
So-
that's this one here. And so what we figured out is, like, if our custom reporting that we have, the way that we have that written, you can't put that and pull it in SQL. But if you can take what you have as your basic query into the SQL query, you can grab whatever you want. So any report you have that's done in SQL, that should work just fine.
So okay, so if you were to build a custom report in inventory and you'd use a custom report when using the SQL builder, you could access that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this is when you send over to us, and this is where we're adding to as site. That just makes the first column as site, just like we were with the other one. It's just done in SQL instead. And then this is the SQL query you did with the joins and everything to grab all of the machines that are out of date.
Okay.
All right.
And obviously that one's running on Bugs Bunny, which in our case is Site 2. Hence the reason it's Site 2.
And the one that we have for Guinness is a little bit different on SQL, which we'll cover. I just wanted to showcase we can do a SQL query and write that to Influx.
Again, that one's now being written into the bucket or table called Webcast.
Webcast instead of monitoring.
Yeah.
Let that finish
Well,
running.
apparently we need to do some updating.
There was a lot in there.
Yeah, we did that to show, have data to show. That's it, yeah.
Well, with the query that Stephanie wrote that we'll show next, we'll know exactly how much software is not updated. So in this one, we named it Webcast. You can see since this one all came from Bugs Bunny, it only has these ones for now. But if we wanted to do the same thing where we do based on field, remove that filter. And then, actually this one I believe is text, so we should be able to do script editor. I'm just going to remove mean. I've had such bad luck with mean. can't scroll down.
Sort there, yeah.
Sort, and then back up top, remove mean. And we'll submit that one. Input type for mean aggregate string.
Oh, did you grab there?
Try
There
that.
it is,
Okay,
okay.
I just hadn't actually specified my fields.
Yeah, I got to see what you want to look at. Yeah.
All right, so and see, this is it's a lot of similar things where this one lists all of the different old apps, and the next one is the site, which means we will want again once do the pivot.
Pivot
once again.
table. Yeah, I pivot.
And
yeah.
so actually pre-wrote a lot of these because
Us typing.
they're not always intuitive. So we're gonna come into the script editor now, and just at the end of. Can I get to the end? There we are. Professionally done.
Love it.
We added the pivot, and then also this is where you would use the group by.
Okay.
And so instead of doing this where we showed it earlier on Grafana, where we went through and grouped all that together, we're just going to do the group here.
Okay.
And once again, I'm not going to go find that by chance here. So we're grabbing group by old app, which was the name of the that we named the field in the SQL query. And submit that. So that, once again, now it groups it, but this one grouped it based on software. So if you come in and click on, FileZilla, Olden has that add a date. And so it's, since we group by software, this is the list of all the software and then the machines in that software that are bad. So if you have like a critical one, like say you need to have Chrome, because that
Okay. Seems like Chrome gets updated a lot.
Yeah, in any software that is critical to be updated, you can actually use this one, and then in Grafana, you could limit out where that field only equals whatever the name of the software is, and then you just get your list of machines there.
Now, the interesting thing, again, you can do this in inventory, but we're going to start collecting data from all the different sites. So I've got one place to know all the machines that could be out of date, and you could probably do some math and determine how what percentage of patching is done with this across the enterprise.
Yeah, and one thing I learned from the SQL is your ability changes drastically what you can do. Like
Your SQL ability?
Yeah, I'm terrible with SQL. I think you wrote this first one. I struggled with it, and then we had Stephanie who handles our databases.
Oh, she's like a SQL master.
Yeah, she came in and she modified your script, which showed just a bit to show a different value. So for me, I was flying blind. I had a rough idea what I wanted, but I didn't know how to grab it. So the better you get with SQL, the more in-depth your tables can be.
Absolutely.
So first I'm going to come in and delete what bucket was that? That one was the webcache bucket, right?
Yep.
Going to delete that just so it.
So now we're going to get rid of the rookie. We're going to run the much better version of my query. Is that what we're doing?
We've gone professional, yep.
We've gone professional. We went and sat out. We went right past ULEX straight to Steph. We want this done right.
So this one, actually, and we tested this yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't need to delete that one. It would have added up both, but the name of the field for these is different. I believe she named it number of old applications instead of old apps.
So she's doing the count on this now.
Yeah,
This is great.
so the one that we had was a one-to-one relationship, which all the information's there and it's frustrating, or it's useful, but it's frustrating to try to parse through. She went through and did a one-to-many where it just takes account of old software, and then nothing else on this one has changed at all. So we're just gonna run this one.
Run that, and that's going to be coming from Site 1, which would be Bugs Bunny and the Looney Tunes. Yeah.
Nope. Site 1 is Guinness and Webcast. Yep.
Yeah, webcast. That's right. But it is the Looney Tunes. It's not Bugs Bunny, but it's Looney Tunes.
Yep. So now you see, since we deleted that, rebuilt it, you got the new machines. And instead of measurement, we're going to go filled again to delete that.
Get rid of that mean. Make sure it's a sort, right? I'm learning.
I'm going to.
Make it easier on you.
Yeah, I had to go custom. That's what I was missing. Sort, remove mean. And like I said, I don't know if that's usable all the time. I just know for me, every time I've removed mean, things have just worked better for me.
All of a sudden, I now have data I can work with. Yeah.
Yep, so we're coming back to the script editor, and this is once again, we're going to need to do the pivot because we have a number of old software and the site. We want to combine those again. And then I think there was one other thing that we used for this one, duplicate and then drop. This is where we're doing the drop.
Okay.
And I'll show you why here, because right now we have but we have like start, stop, time. That's all useful if this is a time series database, but this is just, these current machines have this number of software out of date.
Now, the interesting thing is it's not actually getting rid of it. It's just making you can't see it, because if you have a time series database without times in it, it's not going to work. So we're just making them not visible by using that drop.
Absolutely. Yep. So we used all of the ones we talked about before. We did the pivot to join the site number with the number of applications.
Yep.
We did the duplicate to add the server name again. And then I don't think we did group by this time. And then we just did the drop, which was, we dropped all of the fields that we don't want. And we're going to go put this one into Grafana and see if we can't make
I think the nice thing is Stephanie already did the grouping and the counting in the SQL, so by the time we get it here, it's already summed up so much easier.
Yep. And I guess I better delete all of my current transforms if we're going to be changing it, since we didn't save anything. All right, so we're going to run this one. And it's a similar on this one again. As you can see here, we've got Bugs Bunny. It is on site 1, and it has 8 old applications. And this is where we go back to the transforms. We're going to do merge again. Merge first to put it all into one. And this one's handy because this is basically all your machines. And then we're going to do the filter name or data by values. Match all. And then we just want number of applications is greater than, what do we want to say, 11?
Sure, sounds good.
I mean, yeah, so these are all the machines. These machines have at least 11 pieces of software.
They've been neglected horribly.
Yeah. So if you could do a combination, like this one lets you know if this many, there's probably something wrong with your update process. And then if you have critical applications as well, so you have kind of just 2 different ways to approach it to look at, make sure your systems are patched like they need to be.
Okay. Now, can you turn that into a graph?
This one?
Yeah.
Let's see, we can...
Bar chart.
Bar chart, but now we're grabbing the site on that one. So if we come in here and we add a transform, and we want to do, what was it, organize fields, we just want to drop site.
Okay.
This is just the number of applications and the server name now. We're going to move server name first. That doesn't matter so much on this bar one. And then if you're looking at customizations just because you don't like how wide the bar is,
you can make adjustments there. I don't know. I guess this is, I mean, it's, there you go. I think that's better, right? Because then I'm saying, like, Walter White is way out. 19, it's easy to see.
Yeah, and that's where kind of the really good customization comes in, is after you have all the data you want, it's the right column over here where you can start changing the look of it. The data is going to stay the same. This just change the appearance so you get what you really want.
Yeah. Do you have any more questions?
Do we?
Well, we just got one in a moment ago.
Oh, nice.
All right. Are we ready?
Yep.
Gentlemen, why does WMI show Win32 physical memory 20, but I have DDR2 memory modules installed and shows DDR0? I want to change the data. Win32 physical memory writes the supplier does not support this operation. I'm not even going there with the name.
I want to change the data.
Is that Russian?
Da. Maybe. I don't know.
Let's see, if that's what WMI is returning.
That's interesting. I would imagine WMI is doing a machine call, right? Mm-hmm. So it should be pulling what has been reported to the machine for the memory. It should be.
It should be, yeah.
So I guess the first question is, are you sure you're pulling the right thing? I mean, is there another place to grab it? I don't know.
When it comes to sim instance or WMI, there's a lot of variables on that one. I don't know of a way to change what's reported on that one. It's just going to return whatever your system tells it.
I'm wondering if that's a WMI query that shows that. I'm wondering what inventory is showing. Is inventory showing the same thing?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because if inventory is showing what you're expecting to see and your WMI is not, you're obviously looking in the wrong place. So.
And I'd be curious, are you doing the WMI scanner that we have, or is this a PowerShell scanner where you're doing the get sim instance?
Yeah.
There's different ways to grab the data. There's a lot of different areas to grab it. So unfortunately, the report's just going to return whatever the machine tells it. So if it's not what you're looking for, it's either something with the firmware on the machine or we're not looking in the right area.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Keep going.
Doesn't look like that.
All right.
I'm not sure how much more we have. We've gone over the transforms and everything. Do you want to see if we can grab random useful report in Grafana live? I don't have
Let's do this. Why don't you go run? Let's go run the data from Site 2 into the same table so we can see because they're different, it's going to add another field. So, again, we deleted it so that we could show you Stephanie's versus mine, and we're going to put them together, and you'll understand why we like Steph's better.
Well, they're just different. Like with yours, the way that we grouped it, being able to sort where you have a table of specific software that needs to be updated, that's very useful. And then this combined with it, I think it's a work together thing instead of
But it's
just
kind of like,
individual.
if I were to start evaluating, right, I'd start, I'm like, okay, give me the number of machines that are out of date. Okay, let's start on the worst ones and then look at the detail for the worst ones as opposed to just boom. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And again, this is, we did this so you could look at it enterprise-wise. Again, it's super easy to do in inventory. But if you're combining data, this is the way we found. It seems to work very well.
All right,
All right, narrate what you're doing here, man.
All right, so all I did is we ran it from Bugs Bunny, so we have both sites in there now. As you can see, site is the same, which was the goal. That's why we named it that way. Old app is from Bugs Bunny, the one that you built, and number of old applications was from Stephanie's version.
Okay.
So if we just go through and grab only that and watch, I could have left me in there this time. Probably it would have worked. That's habit at this point. Submit that one. So if you come in here, we've got Ant-Man, which has the old app version, this one you wrote, and then if we come down to Auditorium, which I think this one's the count.
Yeah.
So it has all the data in there. It's just.
Well, I guess go back to Ant-Man really quick. Your old app, if you pop up, can we scroll to the side on this? I want to see what the.
Scroll to which side?
Oh, there it is, right there. The value: Chrome, Microsoft, probably.
Yep. So the value does come back with the.
So we do get some detail there versus just a count. So.
Yeah. So and this one's the old app. This was
Yeah.
the one that you wrote. So this one comes down with the specific. That's how when we did the grouping, it just said these software have these computers that need it.
So I guess the other question I have is if we just wrote all the data in directly with a little work, I'm sure we could group and do counts using Grafana just from the detail itself.
Yeah. So both of them contain sites, so you could group by site, and it would put all of them together. It just would have the columns for old app and the old app count. Old application count. It would have both those columns, then it'd be blank.
One would be filled in and one wouldn't.
So having the same name is valuable where these ones are different. It doesn't work. So you can absolutely come in and grab just the specific ones that you want. Mm-hmm. But where it's different data, you're going to run into, if you try to combine these onto a single one, you're going to have problems. If you can keep them in the same bucket, but you want to query each side individually so you can then run your reports on that one.
Okay, so here's some things that we were thinking that you could possibly start collecting here. And again, this is just a scratch of the surface. One, you could get all your apps from all your different sites on all your machines into this, and then you could do an enterprise-wide, the Florida site, the European site, the US site, and get, all your counts for, all your Microsoft licensing and that, so that you could, collectively purchase. I guess, buying more, you should have a little more buying power, right? You could get that kind of data in here. We were thinking about even writing event data from different sites, looking for specific events. You could collect that.
The event data would require the PowerShell version of the scanner.
Absolutely.
But anything that's in inventory with a SQL, as long as you write the right SQL report, you can grab that. So if you wanted a list of machines that are awaiting a reboot, that's something that's inventory. So it's not adding new data. It's just making it so you can take anything from inventory and it's going to put it on a dashboard so people can view it without having to go into our
multiple different consoles.
So it just basically it's building a dashboard of all the information that's in there. So whatever information you find most valuable, you can write the SQL query for that and you can build a dashboard for it. Okay.
So I guess hopefully this, there was a lot of data to digest, and we're hoping this kind of sparked ideas of what matters to you guys so that you can actually get it into a single spot to work with, build a dashboard, and then, make very good decisions for your enterprise that way. Jordan, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, with all of this, it's so bad. We're just kind of showing the starting point. If you start running with this and messing with it, and for me, the biggest learning curve was Influx because it's its own language that I struggled with. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, we gave you a couple of points on that to ease that part. But if you dive in and you really start to explore, I bet you could make something just fantastic.
Absolutely amazing, yeah. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys watching. I'm Lex.
I'm Jordan, PDQ.com.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Rawald, winner of PDQ Swag. Please send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to our support forums. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.